It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pelkey.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview a PWHPA hockey player, Amanda Pelkey. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional hockey?
Yeah, well, my dream actually, when I started playing hockey years and years ago, around 3 years old, was to play in the Olympics because at the time, professional women's hockey was not a thing. So what I looked for back in the day was to hopefully be on an Olympic team someday.
What was it like playing college hockey at Vermont?
It was awesome. So I'm originally from there, so it's a special place in my heart that I hold very closely still to this day. And I mean, UVM is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful campuses and locations that any college athlete can be a part of. And that rink has actually always been one of my favorite rinks growing up. So it's kind of it kind of came full circle of being able to go there and play for 4 years, and literally every single year got more and more special for me. So I definitely love going back to visit. Obviously, it's close to where I grew up, and I always get a great feeling walking into that rink, seeing people in the athletic department. It's just a very tight community, and I've always loved that about it.
What was it like for you to play so close to home? As you said, you lived close to Vermont.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I growing up, I said I would mostly, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go to UVM. You know, it's so close to where I grew up. It's about 30 to 45 minutes away from my house. So I always thought, I'm like, well, I'm going to stay on the East Coast, but maybe I'll be in Boston or New Hampshire, or wherever that may be. But I guess, everything kind of happens for a reason, in my opinion. And, that reason was for me to go play college hockey at UVM. And I took it and went full swing with that and absolutely loved the 4 years that I had there.
What was it like putting on the college hockey jersey for Vermont?
Definitely special. I think the most special thing about me playing there was every single home game I had. Obviously, my parents, aunts and uncles, kids that I grew up playing with. Really, my whole extended family were in the stands. Had my own little cheering section every home game. So all college athletes, I think they just love the feeling of having fans and support. And I was just very fortunate that I had support from a lot of my family members got to play, or got to see me play. So I was very happy about that.
What was it like putting on that jersey?
It was special, in a way that when I think back to when everything happens for a reason, and I wasn't initially as a child, super into the fact of being so close to home and going to UVM. But I think when that moment actually happened, I 100% bought into my career there and every memory I've made there. And it started with putting on the jersey and being able to play in front of family and friends every single home game.
Of course, coming out of college, did you know that you wanted to play professional hockey and get drafted to Boston Pride?
Yeah, I was actually asked a few years prior to even going into college if I wanted to be a part of something like NWHL and finally get paid as a professional athlete. And my path and the professional women's hockey path kind of aligned perfectly. As soon as I graduated, it was headed to Boston and played in the inaugural season of the NWHL. So it kind of fell into my lap sort of way. Um, and the times then and playing for the NWHL in Boston were extremely, extremely fun. The first season was was awesome. We got to play out of Harvard and be surrounded, the Harvard rink's kind of like a bowl. So it was very professional, like having professional like atmosphere. And I think that was very special about year one.
Of course, what was it like playing in the inaugural season and being one of the players from the inaugural season from Boston Pride?
Very special. I think that anytime you're a part of something that's just starting up and, there's a lot of hype around it, you obviously want to do well and produce and kind of give the fans and the spectators what they want and have them keep coming back. So I think that energy about being a part of something that's just starting, the foundation of something, I think is very special. And I think that all teams at the time and our team absolutely took that to heart and really made the most of it.
Of course, coming out of the draft and stuff, what was it like signing with Boston Pride and putting on the yellow jersey?
Well, anytime you get to sign professionally with a Boston team, it's pretty special. With the, obviously you have the New England Patriots and the Celtics and, a whole bunch of stuff, the women's soccer program as well. It's pretty cool that we were thrown in the mix in there. And I think that kind of put us on a pedestal being next to those big names. But what was cool about being a part of a Boston team was all those teams were also in our circle, right? You have the Bruins players throwing up on Twitter, congratulations on winning Isabel Cup, hearing from Patriots fans. And, it's just a really cool community to be a part of. Any team professionally in Boston, that they're pretty diehard fans. So we were very lucky to be hand in hand with those other teams.
What was it like to win the Isabel Cup your first season in the inaugural season?
Well, it was very, I think, for our team, it was very emotional because unfortunately we had a severe injury of one of our teammates. And so I think that season opened a lot of our eyes in a way that winning felt way more than just winning that year. And it was I just remember it being actually very emotional. Yeah, it's the first year of the NWHL and we just won and, yada, yada. But I think a lot of us had a deeper meaning to wanting to win. And I think that opened our eyes, for everybody, quite honestly. I think that was probably one of the most special wins in my career because of that.
What was it like whenever you got to hoist up the Isabel trophy?
Very similar to, well, I mean, when you see the guys, hoisting the Stanley Cup. So it was cool to just kind of do that motion. And I hope as the years go on that hoisting that trophy, whatever trophy that's going to be, becomes a bigger and bigger deal year by year, because it is a pretty cool feeling.
Of course, being from the inaugural season, what was it like this previous season? Of course, seeing those players like some of your teammates from that season, Kaylee Fracken and Julian Dempsey, of course, hoist up that trophy after going so far along without winning the Isabel Cup.
Yeah, that team, they're still a core group of girls that stuck with the Boston Pride team. And all of those girls are, in my opinion, phenomenal players. And it was pretty cool. I mean, you look at a player like Jillian Dempsey and she's a diehard, like Boston to the core, right? And anytime that you see her be successful, it always puts a smile on your face because you know how passionate she is about it. So it was pretty cool. I knew that she was going to be fired up that they got to win. So definitely happy for them.
Of course, can you talk
They
about
deserve it. They had a great team.
Can you talk about, of course, what it was like going to the PWHPA?
Yeah, there was a lot, commotion around kind of where everyone was going to end up playing. But I personally, there's always two different sides, but I think that the more we can bring those two sides together, that's the most important thing. And when I decided to play for the PWHPA, it was really because, hey, a lot of my friends are playing in that league. It's the elite, in my opinion. There's elite players in both leagues. you have the national team players there, which I'm all, very close friends with most of them. So for me, I was also wanting to, again, have that feeling of paving the way for something new. Like when we talk about first year, 2016 inaugural season for the NWHL, obviously we had our bumps in the road. So when this opportunity came up to be a part of something that can hopefully better our sport, I jumped on the bandwagon for sure. And I'm really looking forward to a full season this year.
What was that transition like from you from going from, of course, the NWHL to the PWHPA?
It was, not, to be honest, not crazy different. For me, it was the fact that I also, along with, gosh, 90% of the athlete or, female hockey players that play at that time, I also had a full-time job. So I really only got to play in one showcase. And that showcase that I got to play in was in Chicago. And it was absolutely so fun, mainly because it felt like we were kids again, because we got to have like 5 games in one weekend. It was pretty cool. It was like a mini tournament, very high end pace, and it really felt like a professional environment. So I'm really looking forward to, spending hopefully 4 or 5 showcases this year with my team.
What was it like whenever you got to put on the PWHPA jersey for the first time?
Well, it was only that one time. And I remember it was the event that I think it was Camry Granado was also a part of it. There was a lot of, let's say, legends that were a part of that weekend. Angela Ruggiero and, a couple of Canadian legends as well. And I think that to look at them and think, okay, they have our backs, they have our support, we're all in this together. Again, it was another moment that it's like, okay, I'm doing this. Let's make everybody happy. Let's put on a show and have some fun together.
Can you talk about, of course, what it was like to play for Calgary?
I haven't played with them yet because last year we didn't play. So I will be joining them this year, and I look forward to, I know some of the girls just with Hockey Canada, so I know them a bit, but I'm actually really looking forward to getting to know new people and creating new relationships with teammates that I've never played together with. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Of course, as you get prepared for this upcoming season, what is a typical game day going to be like in the PWHPA?
Oh, that's a great question. It's going to be a showcase type of format. So it's more than likely going to be, say, if it's a 4:00 game, sleep in, get some rest, probably have a nice brunch, go for a little walk, and then, to be honest, arrive at the game 2 hours before. So really, really the same as it was my college days, national team days. When you're in a professional environment and your sole focus is that game, you prepare all day for it.
What are some similarities and differences between obviously your time with the NWHL and now with the PWHPA?
Similarities is that we all want to better the sport. I think that's a huge similarity. I think there's high-end players in both leagues for sure. And I think that the competition continues to get better in each league. What the NWHL still does is a couple of practices a week and to play on each weekend. Ours is a little different. It's showcase training as we all live elsewhere. So we're still figuring it out. But I think there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot more similarities than people think because we all have the same mission. It's just finding the right time that people want to come together and make something better.
Of course, you talked about it earlier. What is it like to balance, obviously, working a full-time job and also being a professional hockey player at the same time?
Well, to be honest, right now, it's hard to say, like, quote unquote, professional athlete, because that's what we're driving towards is like, when you hear professional athlete, you think, okay, that's all they do. Right. But I've kind of been on both sides of the fence now. I've kind of seen two different lenses of when I was a part of the national team, that was a professional athlete, right? Because we were funded, we trained, our sole focus and our sole job was to train and perform. Whereas a professional athlete, hockey player that isn't a part of the national team program, we all have to have some sort of funds coming in to live, right? So a lot of that focus of being professional is taken away because our focus needs to be elsewhere just to provide for ourselves. So it's really hard to call, like, to say professional athlete. I think we're trying to drive towards that. Internally, we are all professional athletes for sure. We just want to be treated more professional, if that's a good way to put it.
Who are some players that you look up to in the hockey community, whether it's in the NWHL or the PWHPA?
And our players, our leadership players, do a phenomenal job. I've also know them pretty well of fighting through some battles with USA Hockey. So those are the same type of people that are at the forefront of making our leader. So those are the people I envy, and I really.
Of course, what advice would you give college hockey players looking to play college hockey and then move on to professional hockey? What advice would you give college hockey players looking to play college hockey and move on to professional hockey?
My advice to them is to not stop trying to get better, because I think that, quite honestly, in our sport for females, it's like after college and then maybe after a couple of years, people just stop because it's, you can't really do that forever and put everything into it while you have to accommodate yourself in other ways. And I think if you change the mindset of, I might be at my best, I might perform at my best at 28, as opposed to coming right out of college at 21. And to always, like, if you want to go for it, like, keep going toward your potential. Like, for me, I'm 28 and I still feel like there's so many more things I can get better at. But we just haven't really been given the platform. Obviously, it was COVID last year, but we haven't really given the platform to really see if, like, hey, do I have, a higher potential than after college? So I think, like, if you really want to run with it, just don't stop. Just don't stop, because I think that by the time that, especially the college girls that are there now, by the time they're done, hopefully there's going to be something ready for them to take on.
What advice would you give current professional athletes and future professional athletes looking to play in the NWHL or the PWHPA?
What advice would I give professionals that are already there?
And looking to play, future professional athletes looking to play?
Yep, just to keep working on little things, and that you can always keep developing. Even when you hit high 20s, I still think that there's, ways to keep being involved with the sport.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
They can find me on Instagram. Pelkey21 would be Instagram. Twitter is the same account.
Thank you again, Amanda Pelkey, for your interview, and best of luck in your future in the PWHPA.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Amanda Pelkey, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you very much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.